What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video we're going to be ranking every single song on the Smashing Pumpkins' Machina, the Machines of God, the last album, the last official album they released from the Smashing Pumpkins back in 2000, before obviously the band broke up, and we know the history from there. We've been ranking every single album and every single song in every single album by the Smashing Pumpkins. We started at their most recent album, and we've gone backwards. I've also reviewed all of the albums as well, but I assume if you're watching this, you're into that kind of stuff. You've been watching all of those videos, so we're going to jump right in. Machina, it's a pretty long album. I like the album a lot. We've talked about that in the review. I've talked about my thoughts of this album. I talked about how if you blend Machina 1 and Machina 2 together, you pick the best songs from both, that you would make probably the best Smashing Pumpkins album they've ever made by a mile. I really, truly believe that, because this album is a tale of two different sides, basically. And we're going to go through again, we're going to rank every song from worst to best. We're going to start worst, but I just want to kind of give the overview before we get there. I think the bottom tier songs are very easily and clearly bottom tier songs, and songs you could easily, I think, swap out with better songs in Machina 2. Then when it gets to the top of this album, they become pretty hard, in my opinion, to rank them. I think a lot of the songs, and I do have kind of a dark horse song in there as my favorite song, but a lot of the songs on this album, the best songs on this album, they really do stand out from the weak songs, I'll say, and they really are very, very hard to rank. One is better than the other. I think it's very, very difficult. When I was looking through it, really the top 5, I think you could shuffle all the top 5. And there's some pretty classic, or some really big Smashing Pumpkins songs that did come from this album, even though the band broke up right after, and even though this album, I guess commercially, in terms of people buying it, was a pretty big failure. Still, some really awesome songs, I think, came from this album. Some songs they still play on tour now, and there's some really great songs. So we'll get there, but we're going to start going through them again. We're going to go from worst to best in this video. So number 15, we have Raindrops plus Sun Showers, and Sun Showers. And this song, I think, again, is just pretty easy to put here. I think the weakest songs on this album, there's definitely reasons why they're weak. This song, I feel like, just doesn't belong. I don't think it's a terrible song. I don't think it's a bad song. I don't skip it, but if I'm listening to this album over and over, then I will skip it. So if I'm listening to this album one time, if I'm going back and listening to the whole thing, I'll listen to it. But I just feel like it's too long, and you know me. If you've watched these videos, you know me and my opinion of the Smashing Pumpkins. I love their long songs a lot. This song, it's not XYU, it's not, Glass and the Ghost Children that's also on this album. It's not those, 9, 10, 11 minute songs. It's like 5.5 to, I think it's like 5 minutes and 50 seconds. Too long, because it just repeats itself over and over and over, and I don't think it's catchy. Is Smashing Pumpkins songs supposed to be catchy? Well, not really. Not all their songs are catchy, and I don't think that's what makes them stand out. I think that's probably why they're not, that even back then they weren't top level band, is because their songs, I don't really think they're the most likable band in the world. I absolutely love them, but I think to like a widestream audience, a mainstream, really, they have trouble, going with that. But this song isn't catchy. It doesn't really have a hook to it. It's very, very repetitive, and it just kind of has that kind of glossing over sound where there's just nothing special about it to get me into it. And I feel like the Sacred and the Profane, which is number 14, is the same way. This song, I try every time I listen to this album to like this song, but again, I feel like it doesn't have the hook. It's not very catchy. It repeats itself again. This song basically does the same thing Raindrops and Sun Showers does, but just a little bit better. I think that's pretty much the only thing, but it's got all of the same main problems that one has, that it doesn't have any signature Smashing Pumpkins. It's kind of got that glazed over electronic kind of sound, but really no emphasis on guitars. No, his voice is there, but it's just repetitive in the singing. There's just nothing that stands out too well about these first two songs. I think, when I was looking at this, when I wrote all the songs down and I looked at the list, it's like, these are so easy to put as my two worst songs on the album, and because I definitely do believe, I love the Smashing Pumpkins, but I can be critical on them too, and I definitely think that these two songs have big reasons for why they are where they are. Number 13 is the Imploding Voice, and number 12 is This Time. And both of them, again, kind of suffer from around the same thing. They just don't stand out. The Imploding Voice is a more heavy kind of sound. It's got a different, they do something different with the guitars. They do stuff different with the guitars, and it's honestly pretty hard to even describe it, like listening if you've never heard the song before, but I'm sure you have if you're, again, watching this. It just doesn't stand out enough. I mean, it obviously does sound very different than a lot of the other songs, but I think they're trying too hard. This is also the one where he is really, really raspy, and if you don't like that, and even if you do like it, I do not think you're going to love this song, because again, it goes back and forth and back and forth with kind of his more normal voice, and then then it's the really raspy version. And even though I personally love his voice and I love the raspiness too, like a ton, and I think obviously that definitely makes people, you either like his voice or you don't. Even though I love his voice, that song still kind of gets on my nerves, where I will not listen to that song, more than one time in a sitting. I just can't do it, because I just think it gets too, I would even say annoying. It gets kind of annoying, but it just doesn't work. And this time, I like the song. I like the lyrics of the song a lot. The lyrics in the song save it. The song itself, again, sounds like a kind of a mix of the sacred and the profane, and a couple other of those middling songs on here, even the Crying Tree of Mercury. Like, it has that kind of vibe with the guitar and the music in general, where it's not the catchiest, it's not signature Smashing Pumpkins, but it's decent enough. That's pretty much that, right? That's why it's low. But the reason it's better than all the other songs, I do think, is the lyrics. The lyrics are basically saying goodbye to the band, talking about, like, is this time, the time we're finally gonna close everything down? Do you guys realize what we're losing if we shut it down? What we could be, all the stuff we've gone through. It's a really nice story if you read the lyrics and you understand them. This song, honestly, lyric-wise, I think is top level in this entire album. It's like top 3, top 4 in the entire album. I really, really like it. And obviously, okay, this album is a concept album. This album is talking about the whole over-personalized Billy Corgan and all of the band, right? And how they transform themselves, the Ghost Children, and then they're, the Machines of God and all that stuff. That's really cool. It would have worked better if both of them were put out at the same time. Obviously, we're getting the reissue eventually, so we have all that stuff going. Maybe that helps out these lower songs that are on the album, but overall, even though they're part of the concept album, you can't really tell when you're listening to it. You can't really put together the story that Billy Corgan wants you to put together anyway, so it doesn't really help. But this time, reading the lyrics, I think it is easy enough to understand what he's talking about, and I do think those lyrics are very, very strong. And the Crying Tree of Mercury is number 11, and I think this song just does a lot of the things that the other songs did before it, that I put in the rankings before it. It does it better. And again, it's got the same kind of guitar sound as a couple other songs on the album. It's got the same kind of mystical kind of feel that those last, like, 6 songs have. And that is what Billy Corgan had said. This, when they came together with what these songs were going to be, it is pretty clear what we got. There are, like, the rock songs and the heavier songs that rely on guitars and stuff. And that's more of, like, the first 8 songs, 8, 9 songs. And then we get to Glass and the Ghost Children. And then after that, it gets to more experimentation. And I like that. He did that with Melancholy as well. Those last 5 songs on the B-side of Melancholy are kind of those experiment songs, and they kind of tell us where they're going with, like a door, and that's you kind of could piece that together. This kind of does lead into the future embrace. It kind of does sound like where he's going to be going with these kind of songs and projects that he does in the future. I like it, though. I like this song. I think it's a pretty solid song. There's nothing wrong with it. I think this is the first song where we really start to turn the corner, where it's like, this is a good song. It's not as good as some of the other songs. Still, if I were to combine the 2 albums together, which one day I will make that video, if I were to combine the albums together, this would be cut off, because I just don't think it makes the list well enough, and I would replace it with a better song on Machina 2, but it's a decent enough, it's a serviceable enough song. Now, number 10 is Try, 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 and number 9 is Glass and the Ghost Children. So I'm going to go really fast with Try, Try, Try. I've talked about it a lot before, especially on the review of Machina. I like the song. It's a good song. The Machina 2 version is 1 trillion times better. It really should have been that version instead of this version. That's pretty much it. It's not a bad song. It's better than some of the songs on this album, but it does not reach where it could reach. I think it could be the best song in the entire album. I've said it before. Try, 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 the alternate version, and 33 are my 2 favorite Smashing Pumpkins songs ever, and so I definitely think that if it made it on this, it would be number 1 without a doubt. But because it didn't, and because I think he made the wrong choice, or the record company or whoever made the decision to not have that one and to have this one, or I know they recorded some of those songs afterwards anyway, but however they managed to put this version on this album, I think they made a mistake. Glass and the Ghost Children, like I said, number 9, really good song. I love this song. It took me a couple times to get into the song, but I really, really enjoy it. I like its length. I like that it's just so different. I like that it tries so many different things. It's got a lot of, like, otherworldly kind of sounds. Like, it's very experimentational with like God-like sounds, and I don't know if I'm even explaining that right, but it's got like another kind of depth to it. This song has a lot of depth. It has a lot of layers to it. You can go back and listen to it a lot of different times. So I really, really do enjoy the song. It's one of my more favorite songs that are like the really, really long songs on any of the albums. This is one of my favorites. Now, number 8 is Blue Skies Bring Tears. This is the good version. I think this version is one of the only times that the Machina version beats the Machina 2 version. I really, really do like this song. I think it's a very, very different song. It's kind of a creepy song, and it just has a kind of vibe to it that I can really, really dig. It's just really, really cool. I like that it comes towards the end of the album. I think it works really, really well. It's a really nice length. It is a little bit repetitive, but I think it just, it's just really good. I really enjoy this song. And then number 7, like I said, is Heavy Metal Machine. And this song is very, very special. This is when it gets really, really hard to put them in any kind of order, because I do love Heavy Metal Machine. I think it's one of my favorite songs. It's obviously a song that's stuck with them for a very long time. If you go watch reviews of the album, not just mine, but other people, they'll say, songs like this, Everlasting Gaze, classic Smashing Pumpkins, lots of guitars, lots of what reminds you, even Stand Inside Your Love, reminds you of the older days of them. And I think Heavy Metal Machine does that really, really well. I think this is miles better than the Machina 2 version. They kind of play this in tours. They go off and on when they actually play it, but when they do, it's really awesome to see. This is definitely a fan favorite song for sure, and one of my favorites as well. And number 6 is Age of Innocence. I really like the song. I don't know how many people like the song. I really like the song. I love that it's the closure of this album. I think it does it really, really well. I think it's got the kind of tone and theme that he wants that second half of the album to have, while also having a pretty, it's got a pretty fast drum beat. It's got some nice guitars to it. It's got some different things with his voice. It does it really well. It's a different kind of song. I think the song, when you're looking at it, I think you can get songs like The Sacred and the Profane and like The Crying Tree of Mercury and, The Imploding Voice. If you tell that to somebody, if you really don't listen to Machina all that much, if you listen to Machina like twice in your life, are you going to be able to tell me that you can tell the 3 songs apart? Would you be able to listen to the song and tell me that one is this song, this is that song title? I don't think you will, because they don't really stand out all that much, and they're on a weaker, quote-unquote, album. The Age of Innocence, I think, stands out. I think sounds way different than any of the other songs on the album. I think that's why Everlasting Gaze, Stand Inside Your Love, Eye of the Morning, all of these really nice songs around this album, I think they all very, very much stand out. So I really, really like the song. I love that it's the closure. I wish we heard more of it, especially on tours, but this is one of my favorite songs. And then 5 is Wound. I love Wound a lot. Really, when I was looking at it, I was expecting to place Wound at number 2 or number 3. It got to number 5, but to be completely honest with you, 5, 4, 3, and 2, I think can be just jumbled up into terms of how I'm feeling on that day. I really do like Wound, and I know that it's not a song that a ton of people really love. Billy Corgan, I believe, has come out and says, especially like when he does the Instagram Q&As, people have asked him what's the most underrated or what's like a song like you really enjoy on Machina, and he's always said Wound. So I think I relate to him in that way, because I do think Wound is underappreciated, undervalued, not enough people talk about it. I think it really is a fantastic song. I think just kind of gets jumbled up in that last kind of 6, 7 songs, but I really like it. I love his voice in it. It's raspy. It's over-dramatic in that way, and I think he does it so well. I really love his voice in Wound, and I know that, again, if you don't like his voice, I feel like Wound is one of the songs that will just completely turn you off to the Smashing Pumpkins. If you listen to it, you'd be like, I hate this guy's voice. I think that can do that to you. But to me, I love his voice. I think this is the signature kind of sound of his voice in 2000. I think this is what kind of I would wrap it up as being. So, or even Try. I think those would be the 2 examples that I would put to what he kind of sounds like now, back then. So I really, really love this song. I wish it could have made it in like my top 3. But again, you'll see, it kind of all just depends on how I feel, because all of these songs are so good. Number 4 is Stand Inside Your Love, and number 3 is Eye of the Morning. Again, very, very difficult. Stand Inside Your Love is a song that I thought would make it pretty high, and I was like, well, Eye of the Morning is a really special song too. Stand Inside Your Love is so good. I love the song. I love the meaning to it. I love the lyrics. I love the guitar. I've learned how to play on the guitar. He's been recently playing it. I mean, this is a song that's kind of stuck with him. He plays it on a lot of the tours. He's always kind of played this song. He's played it in different renditions. He's played it more acoustically. He's played it more electric, and I always love this song. I think the song is very, very, very powerful, and I think it completely deserves to be one of the songs songs you remember from this time period. Obviously, the music video was super weird and super, dreamy kind of, but it brought people back. It reminded them, it was very Gish, Siamese Dream kind of sound to it. I think that's what a lot of people related it to back in the day. Completely agree. Eye of the Morning, very Everlasting Gaze, heavy metal machine, like newer age back then, 2000 age, Smashing Pumpkins. Kind of what you would think that if they could keep the best of themselves in those last 10 years and they made an album and they kind of combined everything that they had learned in a good way. Now, I'm not saying that this isn't a good way. I think this is a good way, but obviously they made some mistakes here and there. But if you did that, I think that Stand Inside Your Love is very like Gish and Siamese Dream-like. And I think a song like Eye of the Morning, a song like Everlasting Gaze, is again one of the songs you would do if you mixed in like a Melancholy and Siamese Dream. More of the dreamy kind of thing, but like dreamy, right? Also the new age kind of electronic and doing the different things with the guitars and his voice, that Machina really is. And then also the more dark, depressing, heavier sounding guitars in Melancholy. If you combined all those three together, I think you pretty much get Heavy Metal Machine, Everlasting Gaze, and Eye of the Morning. Eye of the Morning, very, very, very good. I love this song. I like Everlasting Gaze just a bit more. It's my number 2. Song's great. I love the opening. I love that it starts the album. He uses it definitely to start off his story, again, of the Glass, how he's Glass, they form the band, and, they're playing in front of the ghost children and all that kind of stuff. Super, super cool. I like that he says, the creatures scream. I like that he uses that in tours, too, down below, the creatures scream, and then they scream. The people that are, like, standing there, really, really cool. The song is very catchy. The song is very rock-like. The song is very heavy. The song really emphasizes his vocals and emphasizes the really strong and heavy guitar. It emphasizes Jimmy Chamberlain coming back and being better than ever because he's super awesome in this song. The song does everything I think you want it to do. It's a song that he doesn't play all that often in tours, and I think I've seen Smashing Pumpkins or Billy Corgan acting as the Smashing Pumpkins. I believe I've seen them 5 to 6 times, and only in their last tour, or maybe the last 2 tours, they played Everlasting Gaze, and I was so happy to finally hear it because I love that song, and I was waiting, on like my bucket list of songs that I wish that I could hear them play. That is one of them, and I finally got to hear them play it. I think 2 tours ago, not just this last one, but I think 2 times ago when I went to see them, they did it, and it was just awesome. Number 1 is With Every Light, and I think this is going to be the dark horse one. I think this is the one that, if you've made it this far, thank God for you, because you're awesome. But, this is a song that I don't think many people would ever put as their number 1. I think Everlasting Gaze, Heavy Metal Machine, Stand Inside Your Love, Eye of the Morning, those 4 would probably figure out in a way of somebody's top 4. I think Wound wouldn't be in there. I don't think With Every Light would be in there. But I just really love this song. It's got that, again, dreamy kind of sound that he's working on with this album. It's got the 2000 Machina kind of sound to it, but I just love his voice. And this is a song that I kind of just forgot about with the whole, I would really put this with Wound and with Try, 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 and like this is how I want him to sound forever. I love his vocals. I love his voice in this. I think he does an absolute outstanding job. I like that it's talking about his mom. It's very personal. It's very emotional if you listen to it and you read the lyrics and you understand what he's saying. It's just a really good song. It's super depthful. There's a lot to that song. You can go back and listen to it more than once. I really, really love this song. So that's the end of my rant. That's the end of my ranking. Thank you so much for anybody who has made it this far. I really do appreciate everybody and anybody that watches these Smashing Pumpkins videos. You guys truly are the best. Leave in the comments below what your rankings are for these songs, your favorite, least favorite, any of that stuff. We're back on track every other week. We're back with another Smashing Pumpkins video. In 2 weeks, we will be ranking every single song on Adore. Pretty exciting there because that's a very, different kind of album. So I'm very excited for that. If you guys have anything to say about Adore, leave in the comments as well. Okay, so make sure you guys subscribe, hit the bell icon, do all that kind of stuff, and I will see you in 2 weeks.